They gave her to him as a joke. A broken thing wrapped in ceremonial chains, her crown cracked, her wings torn, her name spoken only in mockery. The fallen queen of Aurelian, once ruler of star-forged legions, now reduced to a ceremonial burden handed to a human mercenary with laughter and sneers. The council chamber echoed with amusement as the contract was read aloud. A punishment disguised as a reward. A political insult sharpened into a blade. The human stood silently while the galactic nobles watched for his reaction. He was tall but unremarkable, armored in worn composite plates bearing the scars of forgotten wars. His name was Elias Crow, a Deathwelder veteran from a species that refused to die quietly. "Take her," the Chancellor said, with a smile too thin to be kind. "Care for her, feed her, keep her alive if you wish. She is yours now." The chains were released. The fallen queen collapsed onto the cold floor, her silver blood pooling beneath her, her once radiant wings dragging uselessly behind her. The room waited for laughter, for disgust, for rejection. Instead, Elias knelt. The sound was soft but unmistakable, armor touching stone. He removed his helmet slowly, revealing eyes that held neither fear nor amusement, only a steady awareness shaped by survival. "What is your name?" he asked gently. The chamber froze. No one had spoken to her like that in centuries. Her lips trembled as if the memory of language itself was painful. "Aurelia," she whispered, voice fractured like glass. Elias nodded, as though she had answered a perfectly ordinary question. "Well, Aurelia, let us get you off this floor." The laughter never came. They escorted him out quickly, eager to be rid of the spectacle. The nobles convinced themselves the joke would rot on its own, that the human would abandon her, sell her, or let her fade into quiet oblivion. They did not understand humans. Elias' ship was old, a patched-together corvette that smelled of metal, oil, and recycled air. He carried Aurelia in his arms without comment, despite her wings catching on the doorway, despite her blood staining his armor. She expected cruelty. She expected indifference. She expected pain. What she received was a medical bay. Machines hummed softly as he laid her down, cutting away broken armor, cleaning wounds with careful hands. He spoke as he worked, not to fill silence, but to remind her that she was not alone. "You do not have to speak," he said calmly. "You do not have to trust me yet. But I will not harm you." Her eyes followed him, wide and wary, ancient pride flickering behind the exhaustion. "You are wasting resources," she murmured. "I am already dead." Elias paused, mating her gaze. "Then we have something in common," he said. "I have been dead a few times myself." For the first time in decades, something shifted within her. Days passed, then weeks. Elias fed her, treated her wounds, and studied her physiology late into the night. He modified ship systems to accommodate her wings, adjusted gravity to ease her bones, reinforced bulkheads where her presence strained the hull. He never bowed, never worshipped, never mocked. He spoke to her as an equal. Aurelia learned that Elias came from a world where storms could peel flesh from bone, where predators hunted in packs smarter than most sentient species. A world that had taught humans resilience through suffering rather than comfort. "You were a queen," Elias said one evening as he repaired a fractured wing joint. "That does not vanish because others stopped believing in you." "They shattered my empire," Aurelia replied. "They erased my name from history. They broke my people." Elias tightened a support brace and looked up. "History is written by survivors," he said. "And names can be rewritten." The galaxy beyond the ship continued to turn. The councils celebrated their cleverness. The factions realigned. The warlords sharpened their claws. None of them noticed the signals Elias began sending. Human-coded transmissions, masked as scrap traffic and navigation noise. Old favors called in, forgotten alliances stirred. Aurelia sensed it before she understood it. The hum of preparation. The quiet certainty in his movements. "What are you planning?" she asked. Elias smiled faintly, a human expression that held both warmth and danger. "They gave you to me as a joke," he said. "And humans have a long tradition of taking jokes very seriously." Her wings twitched, painful but alive. "For what purpose?" she asked. "To remind the galaxy," Elias replied softly, "that legends do not die." Outside the viewport, stars stretched as the ship jumped to faster than light, carrying a fallen queen, and the human who would make her feared once more. The first system they entered did not notice them. It was a border graveyard, littered with the wreckage of forgotten conflicts and abandoned mining platforms slowly tumbling through vacuum. Elias chose it deliberately. Places no one cared about were where humans rebuilt themselves best. Aurelia watched from the observation deck as fragments of broken ships drifted past like the bones of extinct giants. "This was once my empire's edge," she said quietly. "Now it is refuse." Elias adjusted the ship's course without hesitation. "Edges are where pressure creates strength," he replied. "Centers grow soft." He docked with an abandoned refinery station that still carried faint power signatures. Human salvage codes opened doors that had been sealed for decades. Inside, dust coated everything like ash from an old fire. This became their refuge. Elias brought in supplies, weapons, medical equipment, and data cores through routes that did not exist on official charts. Aurelia observed it all with growing awareness. Not hope yet, but curiosity. Her wings healed slowly. Not to their former brilliance, but enough to move, enough to remember flight. Elias built mechanical supports that fused human engineering with alien bioresonance. "They are crude," Aurelia said as he fastened the first wing brace. "But effective." "That is humanity in one sentence," Elias replied. She began to walk the station's halls, at first leaning against bulkheads, then standing on her own, then packing like a ruler measuring conquered ground. Memory returned with motion. The way command felt in her spine. The way space itself once seemed to bend to her will. Elias noticed the change immediately. He adjusted how he spoke to her. Less reassurance, more strategy. "Tell me how they broke you," he said one cycle. "Not emotionally. Militarily." Aurelia's jaw tightened. "They used my mercy," she replied. "I spared worlds that rebelled. They learned I would not burn my own people." Elias nodded. "Humans learned that lesson early," he said. "Mercy without consequence teaches betrayal." She studied him carefully. "You speak like a general." "I speak like someone who buried friends," Elias answered. "They began to plan. Not conquest, not revenge, but restoration." Elias activated old human war doctrines long banned by interstellar accords. Distributed command cells. Autonomous strike logic. Psychological warfare embedded in relief efforts. Aurelia recognized brilliance beneath the brutality. "You do not fight to rule," she observed. "You fight to destabilize." "Rule is fragile," Elias replied. "Influence survives." The first move was small. A pirate clan that had claimed Aurelian relic space. They vanished overnight. Their ships disabled rather than destroyed. Their leaders broadcast surrender messages filled with confusion and fear. At the center of every transmission was a single symbol, a broken crown reforged in fire. Aurelia felt it like a pulse in her chest. "That was my sigil," she whispered. Elias watched incoming data feeds calmly. "It still is," he said. Whispers began. Smugglers spoke of a ghost queen. Mercenaries refused contracts near former Aurelian space. Old veterans felt something stir they could not name. The council laughed at first, then frowned, then quietly erased a few records. "Impossible," one noble said. "She cannot even stand." If only they knew. Aurelia trained daily. Not with weapons, but with presence. Elias forced her to issue commands to simulated units, to make decisions without hesitation, to reclaim the weight of authority. "Power is not volume," he reminded her. "It is certainty." Her voice strengthened. Her posture straightened. Her wings, once symbols of shame, became banners of defiance. One cycle, she stood fully unassisted for the first time. Station lights reflected off her scarred crown. She looked less like a relic, and more like a survivor carved from myth. "I was wrong," Aurelia said quietly. "I am not dead." Elias smiled. "Told you." The second move was louder. A council-aligned warlord attempted to seize a neutral system under false humanitarian claims. Human interference fractured their command network within minutes. Relief fleets arrived carrying food, medicine, and encrypted broadcasts. Every message ended the same way. "The Queen has returned." Aurelia watched the feeds with clenched fists. Fear warred with something dangerous. "Hope. They will come for you," she said. "They will try," Elias replied. "That means we are doing it right." He finally told her the truth then. About humanity's place in the galaxy. How humans were tolerated but never trusted. Feared not for their strength, but for their refusal to accept predetermined roles. "They gave you to me as a joke," Elias said. "But they have been laughing at humanity for centuries." Aurelia looked at him, really looked at him. At the scars. At the quiet endurance. At the species that survived by adapting rather than conquering. "You are dangerous," she said softly. "Yes," Elias agreed. "But so are you." The station alarms sounded suddenly. Long-range sensors detecting inbound vessels. Council origin. Heavy class. Aurelia's wings flared instinctively. Fear returned, sharp and familiar. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and unyielding. "Legends are always tested," he said. "And this is only the beginning." Outside the station, warships emerged from hyperspace, unaware that they were not hunting a fallen queen, but approaching the rebirth of a myth. The Council fleet did not open fire immediately. That hesitation alone told Elias everything he needed to know. They were afraid, not of the station, but of what it might represent. Aurelia stood beside him on the command deck, wings folded tightly, scars catching the cold light of tactical displays. "These ships once knelt to me," she said. "Now they circle like carrion." Elias studied the fleet composition calmly. "Carrion waits for death," he replied. "Predators test first." The first transmission came through encrypted council channels. Formal, cold, heavy with false authority. "Aurelia of Aurelian," the voice announced. "By decree of the Galactic Compact, you are ordered to surrender yourself for containment." Aurelia inhaled sharply. Old instincts screamed to bow, to comply, to preserve what little remained. Elias did not look at her. "Your answer," he said simply. She straightened. every movement deliberate, every breath reclaimed. I am no longer contained by decrees written by cowards, Aurelia said, voice steady despite the tremor in her wings. I surrender nothing. Silence followed. Then the fleet repositioned. Elias tapped a control. Human countermeasures bloomed like invisible storms across sensor range. Communication delays, targeting drift, false mass readings. The council ships began to argue with their own instruments. They will escalate, Aurelia said. Good, Elias replied. Fear makes people sloppy. The first shot was a warning. A plasma lance streaking past the station's hull close enough to scorch metal. Aurelia flinched. The memory of bombardment burned behind her eyes. Elias noticed. Do not look away, he said quietly. You survived this once. She forced herself to watch. To remember not just loss, but endurance. The station's automated defenses came online. Ancient mining lasers repurposed into precision weapons. They did not destroy. They crippled. A council frigate lost propulsion, spinning helplessly into the void. Its distress beacon activated immediately. Elias smiled faintly. See, he said. Mercy with consequence. The fleet hesitated again. That pause spread like a fracture through their formation. Then something unexpected happened. A private channel request appeared. Not council encryption, but Aurelian legacy code. Aurelia froze. That code should be extinct, she whispered. Elias opened it without hesitation. An old face filled the display. Scaled, weathered, eyes clouded with age but sharp with recognition. My queen, the figure said softly. We thought you were dead. Aurelia's breath caught. General Kale, she said, disbelief cracking her voice. You survived. Barely, Kale replied. We scattered, hid, endured. When the sigil appeared again, we knew. Elias leaned closer, studying the general. How many, he asked. Enough, Kale answered. Enough to matter. The transmission cut abruptly. Council jamming fields surged. Aurelia's hands trembled. They live, she whispered. My people live. Elias placed both hands on the console, grounding the moment. Then this is no longer survival, he said. This is a resurgence. The council fleet finally committed. Weapons powering, formations tightening. They intended to erase the station completely. Elias initiated Phase 2. Hidden bays opened across the station's exterior. Human drones poured out like a swarm of metallic insects, each one carrying fragments of code rather than explosives. They latched onto enemy hulls, injecting viruses designed not to destroy, but to broadcast, across open channels, across civilian networks, across neutral space. The truth spilled out. Records of the Council's betrayal. Footage of Aurelia's trial. Evidence of manipulated rebellions and manufactured dissent. Aurelia watched as her history was returned to the galaxy in real time. Not sanitized, not rewritten, but raw. They buried this, she said. They tried, Elias replied. Humans are very good at digging. The first council ship powered down voluntarily. Then another. Then a third. Crew mutinies erupted. Captains argued. Orders were ignored. The fleet fractured from within. Aurelia felt something ignite in her chest. Not rage, not vengeance, but responsibility. She stepped forward, activating the open broadcast channel. Stand down, she said. I do not seek your destruction. I seek truth. Her voice carried weight now, not because of volume, but because of certainty. Those who withdraw will be spared, she continued. Those who persist will be remembered. The message was clear. The remaining ships disengaged one by one, jumping to hyperspace in disarray. Silence returned to the station, broken only by the hum of cooling systems. Aurelia sagged slightly, the effort taking its toll. Elias caught her elbow without comment, steadying her. You did it, he said. We did, she corrected softly. In the aftermath, signals flooded in. Old allies, neutral worlds, even former enemies. All asking the same question. Is the Queen truly back? Aurelia looked at Elias, uncertainty flickering. What if they fear me again, she asked. Let them, Elias replied. Fear is not the enemy. Complacency is. He turned back to the console, already planning the next moves. Reinforcement routes, evacuation corridors, diplomatic pressure points. Behind him, Aurelia stood taller than she had in centuries. Wings spread not in threat, but in declaration. The galaxy had tested the myth, and the myth had answered.